The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. Who is that woman in the beginning of the show, in the opening? Like every time I look, I go, who is she? And of course, she is me 8 years ago. I think some things have changed since then. I guess I gotta find a box of hair tie and a dietitian, apparently, and somebody else to do a new opening for the show. In any case, I'm Shannon Penrod, and welcome to Autism Live. We're coming to you pre-recorded. I'm just going to be honest that today's show is pre-recorded because if you watch the show, you know that when you're watching this on Monday, I'm in Boston. So we needed to pre-record the show. So I'm in Boston right now trying to make my way around. I did not know when I was going to Boston to be a tourist on Monday that it was the Boston Marathon Day. So, because that's how my life rolls. But in any case, we're here right now, and we've got a great show for you, and I'm really thrilled about it. And I will check in, and somebody else will be checking in to see if you can still comment. It's not that it goes nowhere, right? We still note it, and when possible, respond in real time. I won't be able to today because I'm at the marathon, trying not to be at the marathon. How's that? But we like for you to watch in all the different ways that you do and to comment and participate in all the ways you do because this show is meant to be interactive. So Traven is going to show you some of the many ways that you can interact with us, while I will remind you that our homepage is autism-live.com. When you go there, it's a brand new website. We did a retool because what we want for you to do, the mission of this show is to give you information and inspiration. And so we do that in video form, and we do a whole show, and now our show is an hour long, and then we will cut that show into little increments so that you know, sometimes you don't have an hour. Sometimes, most of the time, you don't have an hour. So, and there's, when you need to, there are specific topics that you need to find. So if you're trying to find something that has to do with the teen years, you know, you don't want to go through what you do with a 3-year-old to potty train them, right? So in any case, we have separated it on the website into sort of chapters and topics, but you can also search up in the search bar. There's lots of different things to do. When the show is live, you'll see it. There's a red button and it says live. That means we're pumping it out live. That doesn't necessarily mean, like today, I'm not actually, I mean, I'm physically here now, but not when you see it, right? But it means that we are live on networks, sort of like when Ellen DeGeneres does her show. There are times that they do the Ellen show live, although that's rarer than otherwise, but they will record the show and then it will air live out to the audience, but it's already been recorded. You see what I'm saying? It's a difficult concept. In any case, I know live is in our title, but we want to get as much information to you in as many ways as we can. And we know that everybody can't meet at the same time, you know, same time, same bat channel kind of thing. We're not all available at that time. So you could search on the website to see what you missed. And of course, you can watch us on iTunes and YouTube and all those other places, but you can also find it on our website now. I actually think we have the better search feature. I'd love to hear from you. Let's see what you think. But in any case, we hope you will get what you need. And if you're not getting what you need, please write in. You can write in on Facebook. You can write in on there's a place on the website that says chat. Click on it. It opens up and you can say, hey, I'm not finding this and I need to find that, right? Or you can email me always. And my email is s.penrod, Penrod, at autism-live.com. Now I'm going to spell that for those of you that are listening on iTunes and you're taking us in the car and not watching, don't have the picture in front of you. So it's S as in Sam, Penrod. It's P as in Peter, E as in egg, N as in Nancy, R as in robot, O as in Oscar, D as in dog, at autism. I know you know how to spell that. Hyphen, that's the dash in the middle, right? Not the one in the bottom, the dash in the middle. Live. L as in lollipop, I as in igloo, V as in Victor, E as in elephant.com. Okay? Please feel free to write to me whenever you need me. Even during this week, I will try to check in on my email every couple of days. So, thrilled to be here with you today. Boy, it's April and there's lots going on, right? I don't know about you guys, but I get to about this point in April and I feel plugged in and recharged. I'm like, right, there's a whole bunch of us, where there's an army of us, and we care and we love people on the autism spectrum. And we have our friends that are on the autism spectrum. Sometimes we ourselves are on the autism spectrum. That's not me, but people I love on the autism spectrum, right? And we are fierce. We are a force to be reckoned with. But towards the end of April, I don't know about you, I get tired. I think we as a group of people get tired and go, yeah. And it's like almost we need May to come so we can take a breath. This week is no exception. We have so many things going on this week. I want to say that on Saturday of this week, which is the 20th, we have two amazing events that are coming up that we will be at for Autism Live. The first one is the third annual We Rock the Spectrum Walk. We're so excited to be there. Because I'm out of town this week, we didn't have an opportunity to have them on the show. But you know I love me some We Rock the Spectrum. And they're doing a really incredible walk, and there's a resource fair. Autism Live will be there for that. That's on Saturday morning. It's in Balboa Park, which is in Van Nuys, I would say, and well, it's considered Balboa Park. It's in Los Angeles, it's a little bit north of Los Angeles, and but Los Angeles County, and the Valley. That's what it is. And then that night is the Autism Rocks concert, and on the show today we have Alex Lin, the young man who started this. I believe this is the fourth annual. I know it's the fourth concert at Universal Studios, so that's really exciting, and that's happening at night. And we will be there as well. And we will be ragged. Sunday we will rest, right? But what's going on in your neck of the woods? What do you have going on? I hope you're participating in at least some of it. Don't make yourself sick. That's my mantra all the time, you know. Don't make yourself sick. Do as much as you can, but don't make yourself sick, because there's so much. And isn't that a wonderful thing? Because I can remember when there wasn't so much. So this is really exciting. Okay, so we like to, on Thursdays, remind you that we have a lot of experts that are on the show. I'm not one of them. I'm an autism mom, proud autism mom, and want to help you to get to resources, which is why we have experts that are on the show. But don't confuse me as being one of the experts. You absolutely can count me as somebody who's in your corner, who cares about you, who says, let's hold hands, si se puede, we can do this, we will do this, right? But not one of the experts, just to be clear. Okay, but on the new thing now with the new format is that on Mondays and Thursdays, we like to start with something we fondly refer to as the jargon of the day. This is when we take on one word, one phrase, one acronym. We try to figure out what in the heck are they talking about, and what does this have to do with us, and why do I have to expend the energy to learn a new term? And I'll tell you the short answer, the takeaway point is it saves you time and gets you more progress. If you know, and it saves you money too, if you know what the jargon term is. And we try to only give you terms that we think are relevant. And then of course I like to make fun of the definitions of them, you know, because that's how I roll. But anyway, so today's jargon term, it's an oldie but a goodie, antecedent. Now this is one of those words that when you first come into the autism community and people start talking about antecedents and you go, really? Really? Is that a word that you are going to use in your everyday language? Isn't there a better way, right? But you will see that after time you will get used to antecedent. So let's take a look at what our actual definition of antecedent is so we can make fun of it. Anything that occurs or is present immediately before the behavior of interest. There's not as much to make fun of there. But still, anything of interest that occurs or is present immediately before the behavior of interest, it's like so wordy. It's like, where do you get a handhold? So let's move on to our working definition so we can really understand what this term means. It's what happened before. Okay, so here's the Reader's Digest version of this, right? ABA, Applied Behavior Analysis, looks at behavior and what are the principles of behavior, because there are some things about behavior that no matter who you are, sincerely, no matter who you are, you will exhibit these certain behaviors. And one of the things, so you could be on the spectrum, not on the spectrum. You could be 3, you could be 103, right? You could be someone with a huge, high IQ who understands calculus in a way that I can't ever. Or you could be somebody who has an average IQ, or you could be somebody that has an IQ that puts you into an intellectual disability category, and yet all of you will exhibit some things about behavior that can be said to be true. And one of them is that behavior almost always, especially if it's a behavior that happens repeatedly, happens in this 3-term contingency that they talk about. I call it the ABCs of behavior. The A is the antecedent. Something happens. It's the what happens before, what we're talking about today. Then the behavior happens. And then after the behavior happens, there is always a consequence. And we as people always want to be focused on the behavior. He's doing this, he's picking his nose and he's eating it, right? I don't want that behavior, right? But there is always a before. Something happens before he picks his nose and eats it. And then there is a consequence for picking the nose and eating it. And the thing with repeated behavior is the consequence is somehow meaningful to the person. It may not be meaningful to you, because you might go, oh, eating it is gross, right? But it might be salty for them, and they might be low on sodium. You see what I'm saying? There's something about it that is like a paycheck for that person. And we don't actually, even though we're always focused on the behavior, oh, he's picking his nose, we don't really, if you think about it, have a whole lot of control over just the behavior. Because you can say to somebody, don't pick your nose, don't eat it. Don't do that. Don't do it. I'm telling you, don't do it, right? You can grab their hand and pull it out of their nose, but what are you going to do? Stand there all day? At some point, you're going to walk away. At some point, you need a drink of water or to use the restroom, and then the finger goes back up the nose, and right? So you're not really controlling the behavior, right? And it's the thing that makes us nuts. Here's what ABA says. You really want to know how to control that behavior? It's all in the antecedent, the what happens before, and in the consequence of what happens. So with every behavior that you see that you don't want to have happen, you need to think about, well, what's happening before? And what could we do about that? So if the kiddo has boogers in their nose, there's probably something that signals, I'm going to stick my finger up my nose. Now, it's not going to be different. It's not going to be the same for everybody. In fact, it's going to be very different. Some people are going to stick their finger up their nose because they can feel that there are crusties up there. I don't know why I picked that example today. I did. But they feel it and it's uncomfortable, like it's making it hard for them to breathe, or that it pinches, it even hurts a little, so they go fishing. And then what do you do with it? And maybe that's why they're sticking it in their mouth. But for other people, it could just be boredom, right? I'm bored, I don't have anything to do, so what have I got at my disposal? And now I know that they taste good, or I don't know what to do with it, or whatever, I'm just curious, right? And then there can be other people who are, they are craving that salt, like I said. So they're sitting there and their body signals them, you need something. And they go, I don't have anything to eat or drink here, so I'm going to go for it and whatever. It really matters what those reasons are, because if you're really looking at the what happened before and getting it accurate, you're going to change how you intervene. You're going to change that antecedent. If you know that it's somebody who does this when they're bored, well, then you find something to do so that they're not bored, right? Or you find something, if it's somebody who likes the sensation of it, right? First of all, we find a time when they can pick their nose but not eat it, right? That's private, and we give them the rules of that. But we give them something to do so that they're so busy and their hands are so busy that they can't stick their finger up their nose, right? there are all different kinds of antecedent strategies that you can do to change any behavior, but you can't just roll them out because it doesn't make sense unless you know why they're doing that, right? So antecedent is what happens before, and I will tell you one of the most important ways this works for parents is when you pick up your kid from school and there's a teacher there or the aide, and they're either talking to you or have a note, and they go, well, we had a rough day today, and she kicked the little girl who was next to her, right? And they're going to focus on the behavior. And the first thing that comes out of your mouth is, oh, what happened before? What was happening right before? Because that's going to tell us more than anything else about why this behavior might have occurred and what we can do to change that, right? So you're always going to ask them, oh, what was happening right before? And they'll go, nothing happened. She just kicked her. And you go, no, I'm asking, like, was this, right after lunchtime? Was this right after recess? Did you just do math? Like, something was happening before. Something was. And we're going to start to take data on it so that we can see, does she always kick the other girl when you've told the other girl she can pass out papers? Whatever it is. Because that's what we're going to be able to change in that antecedent. So always when somebody tells you your child is engaged in a behavior, ask them what happened before. Hopefully you are working with an ABA team that has a board certified behavior analyst, and then you come back to them and you go, hey, this behavior happened, I asked what happened before, and this is what I was told. Your BCBA probably will have about 1,000,008 more questions, but knowing what happened before will help him or her to decide what behavior intervention plan will be the most successful. Isn't that cool? It's a very cool thing. So antecedent, it's what happened before. Moving on. We always have a question of the day for you. I like today's question. It's because I'm a foodie. So we want to know, what's your favorite thing to eat? What's your most favorite thing? And it doesn't have to be a meal. It can be a dessert. It can be, whatever. But what's your most favorite thing in the world to eat? I used to love butter pecan ice cream. I'm allergic to milk now, so that's not happening. And I've tried all the substitutes. It's okay, but they're not the same. It's not what I recall. Ice cream, I loved ice cream. And like I said, I like the avocado ice cream that they have out now, but it's not the same as ice cream. You know what I'm saying? But I have to say that I think my favorite food that can be cooked in 1,000,000 different ways is eggplant. I'm all about the eggplant, and more functional medicine people are telling me that eggplant is not necessarily the best thing for me because of inflammation and arthritis and whatever. So I'm hanging on to my eggplant for the moment. You know what I'm saying? But I'm looking for other favorites. We'll see. At some point, I'm going to be at a point where I just get to sit in the corner and suck on a pine tree, and I'll still gain weight. That's how that will work. But what's your most favorite thing to eat? The reason why we're talking about that is because food is a primary reinforcer. If it's the right food, it makes us feel good on the inside, and in and of itself, it's a wonderful thing if it's a favorite food, if it's a preferred food. And that's an important thing to know, because that's a paycheck. And sometimes when you have to do something that you don't want to do, we need to give a paycheck that doesn't necessarily relate to, and this is why I'm overweight. I had to do the taxes a week and a half ago, and because they're due today. And I remembered my mom sitting down to do the taxes. Yeah, I've taken it to a tax service before. It's as much work and you pay them. For me, not for everybody. But I remember my mom, how she would set up the table to do taxes, and there was always some sort of like jelly bean or something. She had, and her coffee was there, and then she had a cold drink. She had her reinforcers there, and she would sit down to do the taxes because it makes sense. Okay, so we always have a topic of the week, and this week's topic, and it's a short week because we're just here today, and then the rest are records, but where do you find joy? Oh my gosh, is there a better question than that? Like, where honestly do you find joy? Right now, while you're watching this, I am somewhere with my boys in the Boston area, and I have to say that I'm very excited about this. We almost never take the time And we're taking a day today and tomorrow to just be tourists in Boston, and we almost never do that. The only thing that we did while we were doing intensive early intervention is that once a month we took our son to Disneyland for at least a half of a day. And I always used to say to people that I never love my husband more than when we're at Disneyland, because it's a time when we get to slow everything else down and it's just about us. It's not about what somebody needs from us, what somebody's asking us for. It's not about, where is my son on the spectrum today? What does he need? Who do we have to argue with? We just got to be us. And that, right? So find your joy, find your chi wherever it is, and make sure that you make room for it on a semi-regular basis. I really look back and think, oh, we should have done something, maybe it wouldn't have to be Disneyland every time, but we should have done something every week. I guess we did. The thing that I always talk about is that when my son would do ABA therapy, and sometimes, because we were doing a 40-hour program, sometimes we would have 3 and 4 sessions in a day. And we were doing home-based back then because that's all there was. And, so the first therapist might come to the door at 8 o'clock in the morning, and then we would get a break for lunch, and then another therapist comes. Sometimes there would be a snack, and then we would get another therapist and have them leave. I think we were done by 6:30, 7 o'clock at night, but sometimes then it was time for dinner. And for me, because our house was set up in a way that I had to be someplace in another room while they were doing therapy, because we were just in this little condo, and I would have the baby monitor on and watching, but I couldn't start dinner because it was an open floor plan with where they were doing therapy, and it would distract, right? Mom's out and mom's cooking things and there's smells. So I would have to wait till afterwards. So I'd be listening and watching and trying to do what work I could. Because I edited and I ghost wrote other people's blogs in the other room while I was listening and watching. That's what I did to get us through therapy. And then I would get to come out. And so now I got to end my workday, be here with my child who's exhausted, and I got to cook a meal. And it was just hard to transition from one to the other. And my husband would just be coming home from work, and it would be like, right? And we all were trying to transition and couldn't quite get it. And so most of the time we would turn on just one song, a short song at that, and we would just dance. We would just dance in the living room. And it's funny, it was like a minute and a half of the day, and yet I think it's what kept us sane. And I think back on it all the time and think, why aren't we doing that now? Like, that was great. Why did we let it go? But when we left ABA therapy, I guess we didn't feel like, oh my gosh, we have to do this in order to stay sane and to transition to something else. But we should be doing it. Find your joy. Find your joy. It doesn't have to be 18 hours long. Find your joy and take care of that. In any case, we've got a big show for you today. We're starting with Bonnie Yates. I'm late, and Bonnie probably gave up on me, so let's hope she's still there. We're going to get her on the phone, a bunch of questions from you guys, and then a little bit later on in the program, we have Alex Lin, the young man who is the brainchild behind Autism Rocks. He's going to be here in person to talk about their 4th annual Autism Rocks concert, which is happening at Universal Studios in their outdoor amphitheater. It's just beautiful, and it's happening Saturday night, I believe at 7 o'clock, and one of the headliners of the show is, again, Logan Shepherd, who I know you've seen on this show. We think Logan's amazing. You want to hear that young man play the drums? Come to this event. It's free, and you will love it. And by the way, when in past years, if you went into Universal, the event is free, but it costs to park. In past years, if you told them at the gate, I'm here for the Autism Rocks concert, they gave you free parking. I can't guarantee that this year, but doesn't hurt to ask. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back with Bonnie Yates. Stick with us.
This is Logan Shepherd. At first glance, he looks like a typical American teenager. He plays in a band, loves hanging out with his friends. He doesn't like doing homework, and he's not really fond of broccoli. But Logan Shepherd is not your typical 14-year-old. Logan was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2. He was nonverbal, made no eye contact, and his parents were told to abandon all hope. Instead, his parents began an intensive intervention treatment. At its center was a quality ABA program known as the CARD method. This is Logan Shepard now.
All I really want to say is, like, I'm kind of copying Martin Luther King. I kind of have a dream, like, that one day, like, I can just, like, inspire people to never give up. Because, like, that's what I want to do in life. Because if I can succeed, they can succeed. And I will succeed.
To follow Logan's musical journey, visit www.facebook.com/officialdrummerrock or @drummerrock on Instagram. For more information on the CARD method, visit www.centerforautism.com or call 800-345-CARD. Rock on, Logan.
Welcome back to Autism Live. Our apologies to that segment, but we have Bonnie Yates and we kept her waiting way too long and we're terribly sorry. But Bonnie Yates is with us and she's a special education attorney. She's an amazing woman, an amazing mom, an amazing attorney, and she is on loan to us in this moment from Jargon, an amazing law firm. So Bonnie, tell us about Jargon and where we can reach them, and give us your disclaimer, please.
All right. So Jargon is a special education and disability discrimination law firm. We're located in Culver City. Our phone number is 310-391-0330, and our email or our website address is www.lawyer4children.com.
Wonderful. And then we have the disclaimer about having you on the show.
The disclaimer. Yeah, I'm giving you information about your rights. I'm not giving you specific legal advice. If you have a case and you have questions, you should see a specialist. So if you're in Southern California, we'll happily do a complimentary intake for you. If you're in Northern California or other places, I'd refer you to the COPA website, COPAA.net, for a list of attorneys that are competent special education practitioners.
Spectacular. So we've got some questions. I'm going to go ahead and dive into them because we know that you're on a time constraint. The first one, when do you know to stay and fight, and when do you just move? I feel like everything is a fight with my son's school, and even if they did give me exactly what I wanted, I wouldn't trust them to do it correctly. Is it time for me to move?
To another district or to a private school?
Well, she doesn't really say, but I read it as if, like, and I'm assuming it's a she, and sometimes it isn't. I apologize. I don't know, but that's a good question, Bonnie. When school isn't working where you are, and you get to the point where trust is broken, what are your options? That you fight to go to a private school or move to another district? I think a lot of people don't have the money to do private school, but if they fight, maybe they don't have to.
Well, here's the problem. When you live in one district and you go to school there, you're laboring under the illusion that the problems that the district has are limited to that district. The problems that the district has are systemic problems because of a lack of funds. The rate at which identified disabilities are going up relative to the rate at which the population is going up. Let's say they just did a study on San Diego County, and special education costs went up 19% in a 5 or 6 year period when the population increased only like 2 to 4%. So people come to me a lot and they say, what's a better district to go to? And they're really brought up short when I tell them I don't really have one to recommend, because I think all the districts engage in the same tactics with a different flavor. So the underlying flavor is, we can't afford this, we don't want to spend money on this, so we're going to sidestep it in the best way that we know how. Sometimes that's a really aggressive response and a really documented response, like there's an administrator in the South Bay who is very prompt about responding to emails, and she documents everything. She gets back to people people, but she still says no. Other people are in districts where the malfeasance involves the district being sloppy, not caring about dates, not caring about problems, and then settling the case when somebody files for due process. So that's a lower intensity approach. But the end result still is no FAPE. And so that's why, as more and more time has gone on, we are seeing more parents putting kids in private school programs and suing for reimbursement. The other general rule, which I'll call the Maureen Graves rule, Attorney Maureen Graves, is if you have a child with autism, you keep them in general education for as long as you possibly can, and you do whatever you can, whatever you have to do to keep him or her there, because most of the special day classes are just warehouse places to keep people till they graduate. So these are not answers that I'm very comfortable giving you, but they're honest answers, and that's the nature of the problem.
Okay. And we do have a question further down that's going to address the doing the private school thing. But, my takeaway from what you're saying is that sometimes you got to stand and fight, and that if there are individuals. Look, I know that there was a time that I was fighting with the school district, and I felt this way. I felt like even if they gave me what I wanted, how would I trust these people to do it? And what I found was when I raised that and said I'm not comfortable with this person, they got me another person. So so my takeaway from you though, Bonnie,
Shannon,
is
your experience with your school district,
it's atypical.
even though it was stressful, was relatively benign compared to what some families go through.
I accept that. I do.
And mine was too.
Right.
I just was revisiting it yesterday because I was talking to a bunch of USC students who are interested in special education. And I was like, my story is not the story of my clients.
Yeah.
I had an IEP, and then I had a mediation, and then I never had to do anything again for like 15 years.
Yeah.
So.
Yes, and I totally accept, although I will admit that for me, it was trauma. It was trauma that twice they filed due process against us, but it is nothing compared to what, our viewers are going through. I think you're absolutely right. But
Our viewers are experiencing the profound difficulty, and in my case, the despair of having a child that's disabled when you weren't prepared and you didn't expect it, and it's really hard. And that's universal to you, me, and everybody else in varying degrees depending on our experience and our degree of bondedness with our child and so on. But what really is killing is that parents that are already shouldering that burden then have the school district teeing off against them.
Yes.
It'd be like if you had cancer or something and you went to the hospital and your cancer surgeon started trying to tell you why you didn't need surgery.
Right. Yes, it's horrifying. It's absolutely horrifying. I'm going to move on to this next question, though. I was in a store with my daughter, and a woman I didn't know walked up to my daughter and said hello. She was with two other people, and she said to them, "This is," fill in the daughter's name. "She's one of my students in our special ed classroom, and she's one of my favorites." She was grinning ear to ear and then looked at me and said, "Hi, I'm one of your daughter's aides. I just love her." To which I replied, not enough to respect her HIPAA rights. She then stood there and argued with me. Am I wrong, and what should I do?
You are not wrong. She is ignorant. What you should do is you should write her a polite letter explaining what happened and advising her about your HIPAA rights, and you should CC the principal at your school.
Okay.
And then consider it as sort of a one-off and it's over and done.
Okay. Don't get stuck.
I say polite letter because she's still working with your child, so...
And she clearly cared about the child, but I love that you said that she's ignorant. I mean, that is not acceptable. She should know better, but clearly she didn't. So polite letter, CC the principal. I love it. Okay, moving on to the next one. How do you make a case for public school to pay for a very expensive private school when your child has ASD and is violent?
Okay, well, without dealing with the ASD, let's just say that when your child is violent, that's a great time to make a deal with the district because the district is afraid that your kid's non-public. I don't know what they have in your state. Did this person indicate what state she's
They
from?
did not.
Okay. Well, let's do it two ways. If you want to have the district fund a non-public school, you can go to your IEP meeting and ask the district to fund the non-public school, and the reasons would be safety, I guess, and the need for an environment that's less, triggering of his violent impulses. If the IEP team doesn't agree to it, which they might, because this is when kids are violent and perceived as a danger, that is the one time that a district will voluntarily agree to expensive stuff. So they might agree at the IEP meeting. If they don't agree at the IEP meeting, here is the recipe for a unilateral private placement case. You need an evaluation by an outside evaluator who does neuropsychological testing and sees your child at school for at least a couple of hours. Then, if the evaluator makes recommendations for specific school placement, she should describe the kind of environment that resembles a non-public school. She should not use the name of the non-public school because that might limit you if others were possible. That information then has to be presented to the IEP team. At the same time, at the IEP team meeting, you could give notice that you're going to unilaterally, privately place the child in a non-public school because of the district's failure to offer a free or appropriate public education. And then you place the child, and the child needs to make improvement in the new placement so that you can show that your choice of placements was appropriate. And we usually tell parents they have to have at least 1 quarter of improvement data in order for us to be able to make the case that this was a denial of faith and they should be paying for this. If it's a private school, the way in which the recipe is different is because the district doesn't have a direct contract with the school. You have to do the process every year. And the process can vary from filing for due process and entering into a new settlement at mediation to the district voluntarily agreeing to contract for the next year. But there's no guarantee. And so it's always easier if you can find a non-public school instead of a private school to do the non-public school route because the district's more comfortable with that. Problem is we have very few good non-public schools for kids with autism in Southern California.
Okay, so a lot to work through there, but great advice. Wonderful. Now moving on to the next one. What are the restraint laws in California? My son has a BIP and still had his hands tied to a chair, and she said, WTF.
It's hard to know what exactly she means by tied to a chair. So if she's saying he was sitting in a chair and they used restraint, those plastic strips or whatever they are, to restrain his arms to a chair, I'd want to know where, for how long, what was the reason. In general, those kinds of restraints are disfavored, and if the school is using them, they should either be tweaking the behavior support plan because it's not working, or maybe he doesn't have a behavior support plan, and then they better do a functional behavior assessment pretty quickly. The law in this area is complicated. In California, we had something called the Hughes Bill. It was repealed. The law got more permissive again. There are 2 really good disability rights publications on restraints that talk about their use, the use of restraints and seclusion. They did one in 2005, then they did one about 7 years later. I think you should go online and read that publication. Presumptively, tying your kid's hands to a chair for restraint purposes, I think would be presumed to be improper, and I would write them a letter telling them what you know and demand that they give you a response in terms of prior written notice as to whether this is the first time or they've used restraints lots of times and why, and you should demand a functional behavior assessment and an IEP meeting to address this immediately.
Okay.
But I've seen situations where like the card therapists who are very trained will have to restrain somebody so that they don't hurt themselves, but they don't do it that way.
Right.
They make sure the kid is safe. First of all, a lot of the time, what's crazy is we'll have a 40-pound kid and you don't think they have to restrain him. It's like, really? 40 pounds? You can't subdue that kid, by putting your arms around him and holding him till he calms down, or, use appropriate prone containment. But the zip tie thing, not a good sign. Not a good sign about the placement. It suggests that the adults are undertrained and getting frustrated.
Okay. And then our last question for today, which is a question that I hadn't even thought about, but I'm glad somebody asked this. Are we allowed to give teachers and aides gifts? Oh, Bonnie.
No. Yes, I know. That was a very impermissible, transgressive bad joke. So just pretend I never said that.
Okay.
You're totally allowed. You are totally allowed to give them gifts.
Okay.
They love it.
Is there a dollar amount that we can't go past?
Everybody loves swag, right?
Is there a dollar amount that we can't go past?
Yeah, because your budget won't allow it. But I mean, what about those parents who do things like they donate a whole playground to a school?
Right. Okay. So, and I had said a couple of weeks ago that one of the things that I started doing that somebody recommended to me, it wasn't my idea, but it's certainly cost effective. It takes some time, but for people who really did a great job, we wrote a letter of recommendation and said,
that's a really good idea.
And said this person went above and beyond and gave examples of what they did, and then I would give, and again, not my idea, but somebody else told it to me, and then you give a copy to the teacher, and then you give a copy to the principal and say, please put this in the person's file so that it goes with when they are looking for tenure and looking for promotion, that it's there. Well,
listen, I think that's a very cost-effective and lovely way to let a teacher know that you appreciate them. And the good teachers are working so hard that they are so appreciative of any acknowledgement of that. I mean, I had a beautiful teacher at this IEP meeting that I did this week, and it was so obvious she cared for the student and really loved his mind and felt like it was a great opportunity to work with him. And I mean, I think if you'd given this teacher like a raisin, she would have like melted like a puddle of butter. I mean, there are some really, really nice, good teachers that work hard and they do it all for the right reasons and they don't brag about it. And we should be acknowledging them in every single way possible.
Amen to that. So Bonnie, we're out of time because I know we need to get you to a meeting. Really quickly, how can we get a hold of you at Hear G and Chow again?
Don't we have another question?
No, we're done with questions, and we're done.
Okay. So I will tell you how you can get a hold of Hear G and Chow. I also want to tell you we have a bunch of other stuff I want to talk to you about. I want to talk to you about least restrictive environment. I want to talk to you about adult transition services, and I want to talk to you about the history of the IDEA and where it came from. So we've got lots of stuff coming up for you, and we'll try to do a little bit of everything in between the questions. Hear G and Chow can be reached at 310-391-0330, and I, as always, am all in great awe of and appreciate much all the really thoughtful questions that lead to us having a good show. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Bonnie, and we will see you 2 weeks from today.
Perfecto.
I had to think about it.
Have a good weekend.
You
Bye,
too.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
That was the wonderful Bonnie Yates with the law firm Hear G and Chow. We really appreciate her time on a fairly regular weekly basis to answer legal questions. We are going to take a break, and then when we come back, it's time for Alex Lin. He is the young student who decided that he wanted to change the way his school and his community looked at autism, so he started a concert called Autism Rocks, and this year will be the 4th annual. Stick with us.
Hey, I'm Candace Cameron Bray.
Tom Bergeron.
You're watching Autism Live.
And you're watching Autism Live.
And you're watching Autism Live.
You're watching Autism Live.
Do you provide care services to someone with autism? Recently, more and more children are being diagnosed with the condition and getting the support they need as awareness grows. But what happens to these children as they grow up? It's estimated that over 500,000 youth with autism will turn 18 in the next decade, and they'll be faced with a very difficult reality. As children with autism grow up, their services start to disappear or become very difficult to access. Things like medical care, mental health counseling, vocational training, and more. All services that are still desperately needed. The loss of support that youth with autism face as they grow up is so severe that it's referred to in the autism community as falling off a cliff. Adults with autism need the same level of support they had as children to avoid falling off the services cliff. Introducing Skills Living, the web-based software designed specifically to help transitioning youth and adults with autism so they can avoid the cliff and instead fly to success. With Skills Living, help your learner with autism develop the skills they need in all the critical areas of adult life, including self-control, planning, and problem-solving, effective communication, performing life skill tasks for independent living, acquiring and maintaining employment or other meaningful activities, developing and maintaining social skills and relationships, accessing transportation and public services, and being safe. Skills Living includes a comprehensive assessment, a data collection mobile app, behavior intervention plan builder, and automatic progress reporting. It also provides a complete curriculum addressing 16 key areas spanning the entire range of functioning adulthood. Skills Living is easy to use and can be implemented by schools, parents, and autism service providers. Call or click today for your free demo and see how Skills Living can help your learner with autism avoid the cliff and instead reach their fullest potential. Skills Living. Wish, learn, become.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We are very excited to welcome back to the program Alex Lin. He is the amazing young man who started this as a high school student. We're talking about Autism Rocks. It is a concert. You're getting ready, Alex, to do the 4th concert at Universal City Walk in Hollywood, and it's coming up this Saturday night at 7 p.m. That's the 20th of April at 7 p.m. in Hollywood at Universal Studios in the amphitheater. You got an amazing lineup. Talk to us about some of the people who are going to be performing, Alex, at Autism Rocks this year.
Oh, thank you so much for letting me come on the show again. I'm always very excited to see you and be interviewed by you. And I apologize I couldn't be there in person, but I have, as you know, Monday today, so I still have school, and it's very busy, and I just returned from Boston, so I have to fly. I fly in 2 days to LA, and it's crazy because of the jet lag and other stuff. But to get back to your question, our headliner is Single by Sunday, a band from Scotland, and it's a very, very great band from Scotland. They're an autism ally. They don't have autism, but they're here to support Autism Rocks, and they really believe in the cause. And Logan Shepherd, along with his band Logan's Heroes, performing, and Dylan Bernard, he's the autism ally. YouTube sensation Pepper Raquel is co-hosting. Miracle Project Live is coming back, and yeah, I think, and Aiden Boyer, he's a new performer coming in this year. He has high functioning autism, and he's a very great pianist and great singer, so he is a new addition to the lineup, in addition to Dylan Bernard and Single by Sunday.
And you will be here in time for the event, you were saying before, so you're going to make your way across the globe to be here for that. You are actually going to be co-hosting with Piper Raquel,
Yes.
which is great. And I noticed that you have, you've gotten a little bit more sponsorships this year. Talk a little bit about, you've got a sponsorship from CTBC Bank USA.
Yes, CTBC Bank USA, I have it right here.
Wonderful.
They have sponsored us for the last 3 years, and we thank them so much, including to Norm and I, the CEO, and Taiwan CTBC CEO, and especially to Sean Liao and Richard Kong from the CTBC Bank USA team for helping us facilitate the process of the sponsorship and supporting us and believing in our cause so strongly, because I feel like in this time of day we need more awareness for autism, and I feel like they understand that, so I really thank them. And Employees have gave us graciously gave us donated the glow sticks for us.
Yes.
I really appreciate
A big
met
thanks to
my
Imperial
Max.
Toys. They've been a good
Thank you.
friend to us as well, so we
Toys.
want to give a big thank to them for
Donating
donating the
the
glow sticks. Wonderful. And so, Alex, you mentioned, awareness, and let's journey back a few years. How old were you when you first had the idea to do a concert for autism awareness?
Wow, I was like 15. My mom kind of like said like, after do this small event in your old international school, type of European school. And I left when after I was a freshman, and when I came to USA, like a few months after, she was like, you know what, I think you should continue this. This is a good idea. And then I met Ned at UCLA in the summer of, I think, 2015.
And we're talking about Ned Spector, who at the very beginning, for the first couple of years that you did it at Universal, Ned was your mentor. Ned is an amazing motivational speaker, and Alex had the opportunity to see him. And what I love about you, Alex, is that you saw this amazing motivational speaker who's done a lot with marketing and has worked on some pretty important campaigns. And you were like, oh, this is the dude I need to help me, so I'm going to go talk to him. And you talked to Ned, and I've heard Ned talk about it, and he was like, here was this really motivated student. Were you 16 at that time?
I was 16.
And Ned said, I didn't have time in my schedule, but I said, dude, you can do this, and this is fabulous, and you're going to be great. But the part of the story that I really love is that you wouldn't take no for an answer. You just kept.
Yes, I would take no. I would not take no for an answer.
And Alex, that is it has helped you to be successful, and it's going to continue to help you to be successful, is that fortitude, that perseverance. And Ned finally said, I can't ignore this guy anymore. I got to help him. So he helped you for a couple of years. And now you're flying solo, which is an amazing thing. And so what now, 4 years into this, what's your hope? What do you want to achieve?
My hope is to make this concert a big platform for people on the spectrum, and just unite talented acts of people with autism to show how talented they are, to destigmatize those negative stereotypes by literally showing people at the concert or through a live stream that they are breaking barriers, they're breaking the glass ceiling by showing that they can literally perform in front of you, and they're confident and awesome and talented people, and they're not these people that society stigmatizes them as.
Yeah.
Because they feel like people with autism can't perform, they're not confident enough, and they're very shy. But I want to show the other side of that, because the side I just said, the negative side of it, is always emphasized on a society, and I want to pivot and really show that, because I feel like showing them through performance is faster than anything else, in my opinion. That's what I think. That's why I did this concert. So.
And we've already seen that. I mean, I remember the first year that I went to it, and you guys were doing a sound check up on the stage earlier in the day, and I was there to sort of cover and what was happening. And one of the groups was performing on stage, and there were some people who have some challenges, some pretty intensive challenges. And a woman who was just walking through Universal Studios Hollywood through the City Walk, saw the sound check, and I was one of the people standing there, and she came up to me and said, "What is this?" And I pointed to the Jumbotron, and I said, "It's Autism Rocks. This is a performance, and all the performers that you see up there are on the spectrum," because that's what was happening right then. And a lot of your performers are on the spectrum, but not all of them this year, but a lot of them will be. And I said, these people, and she said, "Really?" She said, "I had no idea that," and there was one performer in particular that was wearing noise canceling headphones, and she was, she said, "That young man is doing an incredible job, and I didn't think that somebody with that many challenges could do what he's doing, what I'm watching him doing." And she said, "You've given me something to think about, and I'm going to take this home to Wisconsin. I'm going to talk to my son and, about this, because he's a teacher and a pillar in his community." And wow, you people have opened my eyes to something. And I remember standing there and thinking, well, that's just one person. And sort of looking around in the amphitheater in Universal Studios, sort of, there's this whole big area that's built around it that's restaurants, and there's a,
AMV theaters and that City Walk, so very exciting.
And there's tiers where people can sort of watch from all these different levels, and they can walk by. And I thought, well, this is the person who came up and said something, but the rest of these people are seeing this as well, and what kind of an impact can it have? So I think that it's an important thing. We're excited to come again this year. You mentioned that you're going to be live streaming. How will people have an opportunity where, if you're not in the Los Angeles area, how can they tune in to see the live stream?
Well, they can live stream it by going on to at Autism Rocks events on Instagram.
Okay.
It'll be either on Instagram, YouTube, and this Autism Rocks events, of course, on YouTube too.
Okay.
And yeah, they can go to the website autismrocksevents.org. Possibly, we're not sure yet. We're deciding, but we'll announce it on our social media on Facebook at Autism Rocks Events on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter at Events Autism.
So people should check that out. Go to the Autism Rocks Facebook page, I think, or their Instagram. I'm old, Alex. I don't do the Instagram thing. So people can choose what works for them, but go and follow Autism Rocks
events, Autism Rocks events.
Autism Rocks events, and see what's happening. And if you're in the area, definitely come down. We will be there. And a lot of other people will be there as well. And I'm telling you, I don't know all the performers on this lineup, but I'm just telling you that it's worth it to come and see Logan Shepherd. If that's all you come for, there are other things that you will stay for, but I'm telling you, you have my word, my seal of approval. It's worth it just to come to see the fabulous Logan Shepherd play. You've seen him here on our show, and you know that he's an amazing young man, but he, him on the drums, what is it they say? He has chops. The boy has chops. And Logan's getting ready to turn 18. So, and I've seen him perform for a lot of years. It's worth it, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. And then what else can people do to support Autism Rocks? Do you guys take donations? Because there's no cost for this concert.
No, it's just free admission. You can come and go if you please. But we hope you can stay because during Saturday, April 20th, that's the difference this year. We're not having on a Friday night. It's not going to be on a noon at 3rd Street Promenade. It's going to be on April 20th, Saturday, 7 to 9 p.m. And during, I think, after Good Friday, day after Good Friday. Thank gosh, we thank Universal Studios for giving us this date, not the week after, because that's when Avengers Endgame comes out, and I think everyone's going to watch that movie instead.
That's funny. So this is actually the night before Easter. If people are celebrating Easter, what a lovely thing to do, to go to Universal City Walk and enjoy the music and enjoy the people. There's a food court there. You can have something. There's also very expensive restaurants there if you want to get something truly spectacular. But there's a food court there with very inexpensive. There's even a Subway there. So,
yes.
You can get something inexpensive. So we want to encourage people. We're just about out of time, Alex. Anything else that you want them to know?
Oh, yeah. I also want to say that this event is organized by Squad Squad Inc., which has become an official 501c tax-exempt nonprofit organization. And you can follow us at Squad Squad Inc. We're an organization that was forged to help and champion marginalized groups. And check us out at Squad Squad Inc. on all forms of social media.
Okay. So, Alex, thank you for taking the time. Where are you coming to us from right now? What country are you in?
I'm in Tokyo, Japan. I study here.
You're always someplace different, though, when I talk to you. You're such a global traveler. I am in awe. Yes. But, Alex, thank you so much. We'll look forward to seeing you. That's this Saturday, April 20th, and it is from 7 to 9 p.m. It is at the Universal City Walk Hollywood, And I mentioned to them, Alex, that in previous years, if you said something as you were coming into park at City Walk and said that you were with the event, sometimes you got in without having to pay for parking. Do we know if that's true, or we should just try it this year?
I don't know how to answer that question, sorry.
Okay, that's okay. But I'm suggesting to people, when you come into the parking, say, I'm here for the autism, Autism Rocks concert. Lost my mind for a moment. Autism Rocks concert, and they may say to you, okay, the parking is this, or they may wave you in. Just be prepared for either, but there is no actual cost for the event. And you can stand down by the stage. There will be lots of people standing and dancing, and it's a really fun time for the kiddos. Or you can go up into the food court and get a table and watch from there and have a seat and watch and have your Subway sandwich or salad. It's all good.
I would like to add one more thing, sorry.
Yes.
I'd like to thank my executive producer, Peggy Iafredi, and Strick Entertainment Group for helping me for the last 2 concerts, and they have been so helpful, and Ned introduced me to Peggy last year, and also Logan did. So she has been such a great help and such an awesome and great person like Ned, and they both are still mentors to me, and they're very nice.
Wonderful.
They're very, very nice to me. So I really thank them for their guidance and patience.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Alex. I will see you on Saturday night. Fly safe.
I'll see you. I can't wait to see you. I'm so excited. Please come to the concert.
Yes, I'm going to be there. So Autism Live will be there and represented, and we hope that you guys will come too. Thank you, Alex.
Autism Rocks.
It does. Okay, bye-bye for now.
Bye.
I just thank you guys so much. We're way out of time, but we needed to go a little bit over. I just want to say, please enjoy this next week where we will have a wide variety of the best of. We want to thank so much Traven for putting that together. I will be back with you a week from today with Tales from Boston. You know that I will. If you need me, you can still, email me, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. But I hope that you guys have an amazing week. Make sure that you tune in on Saturday, actually, to see, we'll be trying to go live from the Autism, We Rock the Spectrum Autism Walk, and we will be trying to go live perhaps with interviews, maybe with some performances from Autism Rocks. So, but otherwise, I'll see you back here a week from today. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now.